Good afternoon, everyone. Hi. Okay, so we're just gonna jump right on in. So, as you know, this is where we were as of last week. Today, I'm gonna finish up all these colorings. So, we're gonna get right started with a few things. The first thing I wanna do is get some browns in here on the rocks and things. So, we have that the way we want it to look. So, let's go ahead and pour out some brown here. Oh, I'm forgetting my scrap paper. I knew there was something I was missing. Oh, well, how about that? There's the pad I was looking for. Okay. I'm gonna move you there. As you know, I'm always still rearranging things and moving stuff around the last minute, but I never have my space the way I want it immediately. Okay, here we go. And of course, I will continue to show you what my colors look like as I'm going through. I've got my tea. I am missing, oh, there it is. Got my eyedropper. All right, we are ready to begin. So we're gonna pour some of this water in on this brown. I just dropped in a couple of drops of my brown, and I think that's perfect. Got that little streak right there. So now we're just gonna go right on in on this here. A lot of times we're looking for a true to life color, and then sometimes we're just not looking for a true to life color. We're looking for something roughly of a close approximation. I am happy with either at the moment, and I need more brown. So we're probably going to need a whole lot more brown than that to cover what I need to cover here. Ooh. Water, and especially with watercolors, we'll get close to it, but you know, the really great thing about watercolors, really their virtue is, you know, that they're light, oftentimes tend to fade into the backgrounds, but we can really come up some very intense colors, and that's always a good thing with that type of versatility. So, and they can just glaze right on top of it. You don't really have to do too much. So we'll do that. Now, one thing I have learned pretty recently, actually, is that even digital artists go through a process where they may have to correct their colors as they go, because sometimes the colors that they've chosen, even on an overlay, aren't really dark enough, so maybe they've got their grayscale going, their gray image, if they work in such a way where they're saying, you know, maybe this isn't dark enough. And I can see that already popping up in a couple places that I really want to go into and do more with. So right around in here where the shadow is, I think I want that to be a little deeper, especially considering all the blacks that's everywhere. maybe right around in here. We also want a little more of my blue in, probably just some more of a pure blue, just to kind of put that more in shadow. So we'll definitely do that at the moment. Let's just go ahead and get into here. And I think most of that is because I started off with a yellow background on everything. So that's probably why we're seeing that. Actually, this, yeah, there we go. I can do that too. Okay. So, and another example of that is this poor guy's outfit. It's supposed to be black. It's reading as very pale gray. So what I want to do is definitely go in there with some more blacks and deeper blacks, just to make that a little more truer to the color I need. I want all of this to also be brown. Kind of but that's why there's so much light on it, so it's not such a dark brown. I definitely want to get some of this color on there for her. And this guy, he needs a little more green. As I stood, when I took a moment to step back from this piece, a lot of everything that I have in there is just very, very washed out. So I did keep this piece covered. So it's not like it was sitting in direct sunlight for the colors to fade. I kept this piece covered when I wasn't working on it. And I haven't worked on it since last week. So you all get to see this piece kind of come to life every Saturday. So, back here I want, now the funny thing is, this guy back here, he's wearing mostly black and red, and I think this guy here has some red in his outfit, so you're really going to see that pop out. This red does not recede. This guy, I want him in some violet, so we'll do that. Just a couple of drops of that there. We need some water so we can do that. Usually just a dropper full of water is good enough. You don't have to overdo it. The brush, and there we go. Especially just getting in these flat colors in, you don't really need them to be really, really intense. You want them to be visible and seen, but they don't necessarily need to be as dark as all that. Just in case you have to correct something, you have to fix something, you're like, you know what, it's light enough, it's not going to screw anything up. And it gives you the opportunity to really find where all of your tones are and say, okay, what do we need to do here? We need to go in and fix this, we need to fix that. Now, where is my red? I think this is it right here. Nope, that's orange. Red. There we go. Okay. So the red of this line of paints that I'm using kind of almost looks like blood in a lot of ways, so that's why I always want to thin that down a little bit. And as you're working with your medium, you'll learn more about its quality, its light fastness, and what it is you can do and how you can manipulate it to get the proper depth of color that you're looking for. You always want to, take some time to get to learn your medium before you start, but, sometimes just starting is really you learning. I want this. That red. And the other thing to remember is that sometimes if you do a wash like I did, the colors that you put down will pretty much interfere with any colors you layer on top of it. I highly recommend learning to use that to your advantage, especially if you are going to do any type of underpainting. I think I want her in yellow. So let's find my yellow. This one I think I can leave pretty intense. So, there we go. Okay, looking good. So I'm thinking that there. Most of the cloth elements of her outfit are in yellow. There we go. Meanwhile, we'll get down here into the shoes that she's wearing, and they will also be brown. Sorry if I'm talking kind of low. Down there with some other layers in a moment. And I did say this guy has some red, and I painted his belt, but I want to see that red somewhere else as well. So what I'm going to do, let's give him a little bit of trim right in there. We're going to come down to this guy here. We're going to do something similar, but we've already got that prepared down this way. His cape to be red as well. Use the wrong brush. Now, if you've seen me do watercolors before on a couple of other episodes of Pencil, Ink, and Brush, you will know that once I put in, and I'll tell you anyway, once I get in these flat colors, and I am going to, and I always do this, just kind of how I've learned how to work with watercolors, I'll go in with another layer. Sometimes, when I am working with watercolors, I will go in with, actually, instead of doing a second layer of just plain watercolors, I'll either go in with a secondary layer of ink and watercolor, or just straight ink, a colored ink, just to really bring out the intensity of those colors that I really, really want to see. I have been a little out of practice, but it's still coming together exactly the way I wanted to. I need more brown. And where is my black? There you are. Let's see if I thin this out appropriately, because if I paint it right there, perfect. I'm gonna get that in there right now. Need a bigger brush. Here we are. I'd rather do this in as few brush strokes as possible. All right, I love it. Now, whereas your first layer, you could be, just getting it on there. The second layer, you have to be very careful and honor your boundaries that you set up for yourself. So you're not going over other colors and other elements with the incorrect color. So, paint a little slowly. This is exactly how this should now look. That is the perfect level of black. for his outfit. So he's pretty much done. The only thing I would want to do for him is his hair is also this dark black that we've made. So let's go in and put that on there. There we go. See, he's fine. Now we have to get our other character who is also wearing black in this scene. And for that I will use the smaller brush, because that bigger brush is just too much brush for what I needed to do. I'm just going to go right on in there and just put that in just like that. And on his hair. So he's in there now. I'm gonna need a little more red on his outfit. So I'll add a couple more drops of my red in here. Give me just a minute, y'all. Do something real quick. All right, so let's go back to our browns. There we go. here with some yellow. There we go. There's my green because I'm ready to go to him. Let's use this one. What do we think of that green right there? I think that's a nice one. I'd like to yellow it up just a little bit, but I'm hoping that what's already on here will actually suffice. Oh, that's perfect. I'm just gonna paint. Just gonna get on in here and do the thing. This, here we go, to be a dark brown, so we're going to go on in there. About the only person who doesn't really have any colors in their outfit right now is this guy. He's going to be in some violet and red. We could probably have some yellow going on too. Some pretty flashy colors he's got going on. Dun, dun. start down here inconspicuously. Something to remember about fabric material in light is that it still looks like its color. As a matter of fact, when it's in light is when you notice its color. It's only when the object is in shadow that it really starts to take on other qualities. That's remarkably true for most of the time that you're going to be painting. Your colors should be true to whatever they're supposed to be, as long as they are in light. When they're in shadow, like I said, they will look like something else. And depending on the quality of the light, maybe they'll look like something else. We all remember the dress. Is it black? Or what was it? Is it white or is it blue or something like that? That's pretty much what light does to certain material. So that's pretty accurate for that type of visual confusion, really, to happen with certain colors. Okay, so are we done? We are not. There's still more to get to do. Just like that. Characters are missing their hair. That's what's going on. I'm like, what am I missing? Hair. Alright, so now I need my brown again. I'm going to mix a little bit of brown with some black. Gonna get that. You're gonna get this. Hair is only partially visible there. Oop. Guy back here, he's gonna get this as locks. Okay. Here, she's going to get some black in her brown. There we go. There we go. That's the red I need right there. Just do the same thing over here. Put that in. I'll put that in. There we go. Oop. Got something over here. This belt. So I like where this is right now, and I think I'll have a very strong finish for this today. Because once I'm done adding in all this stuff, should be ready to give me a minute, gotta yell at somebody. Okay. All right, so I think that's looking pretty good. I think her breastplate needs to be green. But I need it to be like a yellow green. So we're gonna go ahead and contaminate the green that I've got. That's perfect. So there we are, right there. Okay, I like that. part should be as close to a kind of greenish gold as possible. That's what I want in here for her. Everything else is just plain old yellow. Well, not plain old, but you get my point. It's going to be base yellow. Basic yellow. Neck brace. Okay. I think we can fairly well tell that they are two different colors there. So not one trying to masquerade as another. Okay. Alright. So now we're going to kind of go over everything and make sure we've got it where we want it. Feel really good about that. Do one quick thing. Let's get some blue down so we can start going into developing our shadows a little more. We need a lot of blue here. That's the blue that we want right there. So we're going to deepen up our shadows a bit. Well, blueing them, really. We're going to blue up our shadows. I have almost always exclusively used blue whenever I wanted to deepen in my shadows. For me, they've always been a much more forgiving color than straight black. It's an actual color that I get to make the shadows, and they work fairly well as far as atmospherics. So that in here too, especially. That. We'll do that there. take this brown up in here, just do that. Should be fine with all of that. Alright, so like I said, we're gonna go ahead and deepen up some of these shadows. So let's, we're just gonna really go over all those places where we know shadows exist. So right up in there, down in there, right around in there. Definitely back there. There we go. Do that right in there. And as we're doing this, we are considering the amount of contrast that's pretty much everywhere else. Where shadows are. That was really sloppy, Celestial. You're better than that. Let's use a different brush than this flat one here. It's just gonna make a mess of things. Get back in there. That, and maybe up in there, there. Alright, now we're gonna come right up in here. There are yellows. just like that right in there, and then right here, we're gonna put that in there. Okay. So don't forget her detailing here, and then right there. And obviously my blue can get much darker than that as well. So we can do something like that. Come in there. Oops. That was my arm slipping. Now my red is all covered up in blue. It's not too bad. It's definitely not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. Missing something back there. Here we go. All right, and now we're just gonna do a thing right around in here. And then some texture. thank you, Vicar Maru, for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Vicar Maru says, nice shading. So thank you. Alright, so speaking of which, let's get on here. So one thing that I was actually thinking of doing for this very big empty space right there, there's a good chance that what I can do is go into that with something else going on back there. I was thinking about maybe taking it in digitally and getting rid of all this and putting in, let's say, so I have these pictures of just, you know, night skies that I've painted in inks that I'm thinking I may want to go in there with and just do that. Or I can do it directly on here. I can take it out digitally, which would be fun, or I can do it right on the paper. I'm kind of feeling that I may want to do that digitally as opposed to doing that directly on the paper here, just to give myself that option that obviously if anything goes wrong, I can always change it around and it not really necessarily the final look for it. Oops. There's a little more that I'm going to get into with her right in there, so let me get some more blue on there. And I just want to... There we go. And over here too. And right around in there. Okay. Let's do that. And that. Get into some more detailing here. Okay, what now is missing? So now we're in the pretty much the final cleanup phase. Most of this is looking the way I need it to look. There. Okay. I was coming in for something. There we go. All right. So, yeah. So now we stand back and say, what else can we do here? How does this look? I think it looks fantastic. Obviously, the last thing I want to do really is go in and add their faces, but I'm not going to do that right now. Right now, we're going to let this rest for a bit while I look at a different image that I really would love to start getting some color down for. I've got that set aside right now. I'm going to see if I can peel this off of my easel here so we can put it aside. So I think it's at a very good spot. So grab up my tape. I would like to focus on a different image for today. It's so funny because I was actually really debating if I wanted to just move on to a very different image for today's session, or if I really wanted to finish up. And I'm glad that I finished this up right now while I could. We're going to put this somewhere the cat can't get it. Somewhere where it'll be high and dry. Do-do-do. I am working on the first issue of my comic, and so what I want to do is spend some time working on that again. So for that, we're going to be looking at the cover of that book. Come in here with this guy. So this is a piece that we had started a few sessions ago, maybe 3 sessions ago, 3 or 4, and I wanna get this to a painted state, so I don't really need to go in all around the edges to tape this to the panel like I did with the last piece. But I do want to finish this, so I want to stretch this out as much as possible so that I can just do that. So what I want to see from this piece, let's try my flesh tone mix again. So we've got some, where do I want this? I have to find a spot on my palette. Let's go right up here. So we're going to start with some violet. And we don't want yellow, we want orange. And just a touch of red. Mix it all together. Now, if you remember from last week, I actually did use some brown to help balance it out, but I'm going to try something different today. Now, I also did mention, I think it may have been last week or maybe the week before, about how one thing you can do before, and I don't usually do this, one thing you can do before going in on a painting that you've selected and you're about to do a whole, like you've done the line art for, you can go ahead and scan it in to your computer if you have one, and then use that as a, ooh, that's perfect. And then in case you make any mistakes on a piece, you can always go ahead and say, you know, let's just print it up again, we'll try something different. So right here, I kind of like the way that looks. So I don't need to use that big of a brush though. Or do I? Let's go ahead and just use it. So this, yeah, that's going on really nicely. The only time I think that I would ever actually use a pure brown in a piece is if I'm painting an object. Perfect. Honestly, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get some of the hair highlights with that brown as well. Since most of the hair will be black, I still want to show some highlights in there and make sure that's all in. Okay. Oh, you know what? I got blue here, but what I want to do is scoop some of this blue up, move that to a different pot, and distill it with a whole lot of water. Oh good, it's got my green in there too. Perfect. I want to try to make a kind of, yes, that right there is the perfect blue. That's exactly what I wanted. You can barely see it, but it is definitely there. Oops. I know it's running away. Okay. What I like about, kind of doing these larger scale pieces that you can really see a lot more of what I'm doing with the coloring. All right, so next I want my normal blue. I'm gonna thin that down with some water though, so I don't need it quite that intense. So it looked like that, what I did right there. Just gonna go in on his pants. So this is the same character who, on that last piece, the one with the horn. Just call him that for now. Just gonna get it right on down in there. Perfect, and we've got some brown going, so oops. Do that real quick. There we go. Okay. So, and I hope this will be pretty obvious, the difference between the flesh tone that I mixed up and actual pure brown. My flesh tint color has more red in it, I think. So, which, when you think about it, I mean, that's basically what brown is, but at least when you're mixing your own flesh tint, you can have a little more control over its color quality. So flesh tones, they don't necessarily start as a basic brown. They are, you know, there's a lot more going on to it than just, oh, this person is brown with, you know, some lighter colors mixed in, or, you know, more highlights or something. Some people's skin tone has a more yellowish tint to it, a more yellowish hue. Some has more red, some is much more dark. And the thing about starting with a brown tone that you make is that you can add in the colors that are going to make those different shades. So you're never just stuck with, oh, okay, well, this is just a basic brown that I now have to lighten up or darken to get the tone I want. No, you can actually get those really great tonal qualities just by mixing your own brown. This is how it was taught to me, and this is how I have learned and how I have done it for so long, and it works. So, since I have, in the past, a tendency to really go overboard with how long these sessions last, I am going to call it here just to cut it short and put something up onto the YouTube channel. So you'll definitely get to see me getting to this step. And this piece is pretty wet anyway. I don't want to do too much with it while it's still wet. But when we do come back next week, I will start with this one. And I'm going to try and keep these sessions to at least an hour instead of going a full 2 hours. Because I like being able to share this series and these sessions online after the fact so that other people can see them as well. But I realize, 2 hours may be really unwieldy for some people, and it could just take up so much time. And I mean, not a whole lot of people want to sit and watch someone painting for a couple of hours. So I will release you, and I will release myself, and then we will come back next week with some other things. We'll start with this, and maybe we'll get into something else. And between that, I do hope to have some other videos on the YouTube page as we're working on telling this story and maybe some others, and I want to play around with a few things. So we'll definitely start seeing more videos pop up in the next couple of months. So I want to thank you for stopping in and watching me paint, and hope that you'll join me next week. Again, you can check me out, Illustrator of Fantasies, on YouTube. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Illustrator of Fantasies, and I am also under that name, Celestian IOF, on Twitter. So if you'd like to come hang out with me on Twitter, you can totally do that. Tweet at me. I would love to hear your thoughts on, the past work that I've done, and we'll be seeing the new stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you make it back here again next week. Remember, every Saturday at 1 p.m. I am live streaming, so if you want to come hang out, we can totally do that. Thank you so much for joining me. You have a good one. Bye.